My name is Roy Samuel. I'm the CEO and founder of Connected. As a company, we're obsessed with customer outcomes. We really want to make sure that everyone who's involved, the Connected brand, gets exactly what they're looking for. They feel value, they feel amazing outcomes, they get return on investment on what they put in to being part of the Connected community. And as an organization, despite the fact that we initially built the technology to service primarily startups and investors, the amazing technology we've built lent itself to different use cases. And over time and the changes that have happened in the world around us with COVID and now AI and the huge disruptions being caused there has meant that the way the market wants to use our technology is organizations and fractional talent. When we say fractional, we mean the non-execs, the independent directors, the board advisors, the fractional C-suite, this new, amazing, incredible, empowering way of working. If that's the way the market wants to use our technology, we're not going to have the egos in this culture to say, no, we're right, and this is how the technology should be used. So at a company like Connected, where our culture is so ingrained with customer outcomes, wanting to be on the moral side of what we do and make sure that every single person involved with the Connected brand gets what they're looking for and get that amazing next step in their journey, in their evolution. So for us, looking at those numbers, looking at the way the market wants to use the technology, this rebrand was a slam dunk, obvious thing to do. And we're so excited now to be able to service those customers in a way that we weren't before and lean into what is working so well. At Connected, we want to do something meaningful. We want to do something important. And although the work we've been doing over the last 5 years has been fantastic, the opportunity that we all have now to do something that is genuinely impactful and meaningful in 2025 and beyond is abundantly clear. We see there are so many people who come to us because they're afraid. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know if their job is at risk of being automated or laid off. They're seeing people around them, left, right, and center, who have been in companies for 20 years. One day they wake up, layoffs because of automation. We have this incredible generational opportunity to help those individuals take back control of their lives, of their careers, and lean into what's going on so that they make themselves future-proof. It doesn't matter if one day they wake up and their corporate employer of 20 years turns around and screws them over and lets them down, because they're getting ahead of it, they're going fractional, and they're making their future count, and they're making their time count right now. So for us, we want to do things which are meaningful and impactful. We have this amazing, beautiful opportunity to do that. I think that AI is the most amazing tool. And like every tool and every technology, it can be used for good and it can be used for bad. And I think CEOs and leaders around the world need to very cognizantly make that decision of how they want to use these new technologies and which side of that history they want to be on. And I see a lot of people and a lot of risk. I see a lot of risk that AI might drive people apart in a big way. And there's a big chance people get further disconnected from humanity and each other, and it's not a good thing. And for me personally, the opportunity that we have with Connected to leverage AI to actually bring people closer together, to connect people, to give people freedom over their future, to give people ownership over their future. For me, this is such an important thing. And this rebrand, this leaning into that opportunity is something which has helped every single person in this company, myself especially, rediscover the purpose of what we're doing and what we're building. There's going to be a lot of pain out there over the next 5, 10 years and beyond as a result of these new technologies. I think it's the responsibility of leaders in the space to make sure that we're using those technologies for good and using it to help people through and not leave humanity behind, which I think is a big risk. So for me, this is as much of a moral rebrand as it is a commercial one. I think there have been a few big moments over the last 12 months which made it clear that a rebrand has to happen for Connected and for us to lean into what's working really well. And many of those moments come from our community. We see individuals who have gone from absolutely broken up about being laid off and terrified about the job market that we're in 2025, and then starting their fractional careers, getting their first positions within 2 weeks, and seeing all of those stories from inside our community, it's so clear that that's where we're able to do good. That's where we're able to get great outcomes. So we have to keep on chasing that. And then there are these moments from outside of our ecosystem which say, regardless of connected, these changes are happening and we need to be there for people in the space. But we saw Microsoft lay off 3% of individuals. We saw the Bank of Singapore say they're going to lay off 4,000 jobs. I think it was maybe more than that. Thousands and thousands of jobs over the next few years because of automation. Meta and some of the other ones are hiding behind this narrative of we're making layoffs because of the economy, because of financial reasons. I don't think for a second that the Bank of Singapore has access to technology that Meta doesn't. Come on, guys, they're lying to you. We've got to be honest about this. So the mix of seeing the internal moments we're able to create and give people these great outcomes, and these external moments that we're seeing of risk and threat and disappointment for individuals, those moments make it really clear that this is the rebrand we need to do. Within the next 5 to 10 years, fractional employment will just be the standard. It's not going to be a new way of working. It's just going to be the way that we do things. A lot of the doing is going to be automated. So the guidance, the steering, the advice, that is where the value is. If I go onto ChatGPT, Llama, DeepSeek, Claude, Perplexity right now and ask the same business question, I get 5 different answers. So working with smart, talented, ambitious people who can help guide and answer those questions, with a lot of the doing and execution being automated, that's where it's going. So no one needs to be scared by that, but individuals are then going to have to find 3 or 4 different places to give that advice, because giving advice is not necessarily a full-time job in one company. So within the next 5 to 10 years, Connected will own that space. Every single thing that any individual needs to transition into and succeed in fractional working will be achieved on the Connected platform. One of the biggest shifts that we've seen is fractional working and fractional employment used to be seen as something which startups did. And they did it because they couldn't afford to bring in the best of the best full time. That's not true. Now what we see is bigger organizations who are waking up to automation and how they use AI. They want to start tapping into fractional talent. So previously, because of the investor part of Connected, we were actually cutting off so many opportunities with bigger organizations, because when they were coming to us, they were saying, we want to tap into this unbelievable network that you have, but you're not touching our investor base. We're already some PLCs coming to us. It didn't make sense. So with this rebrand, with leaning into what's working, we're going to now be able to service everyone from startup all the way through to enterprise who see that this is the future of work. Over the last 5 years, the investment market has completely shifted. In 2020 and 2021, even 2022, it was easy to raise money. Interest rates were so low, money was very cheap to get in that way. So it was a really interesting time on the investment side of things. But in 2023, the market completely dried up. And to be honest, unless you're building really, really high spec, high end AI right now, the investment market is tough for everyone. But what that meant is so many businesses realized that instead of having to rely on investment, they were going to have to actually make it happen for themselves. And guess what? That's better businesses anyway. So for a business that is not just trying to get investment, but realizes that it's all about getting access, how can I get in front of the right customers, the right partners, the right distribution, the right GTM, all of these things that make or break a business, that's the focus now. So that shift in the market has really played into what we've built with Connected, and now we're just leaning into that. For us, it's about maximizing impact. And we could see so clearly that there are parts of the customer base who are having the most incredible outcomes. And if you have that mindset If you have that real theory that you want to follow, which is maximizing impact, it was a no-brainer for us. Lean into the parts where we're just getting the type of impact that we want, that's meaningful for us, that's positive, that can genuinely do good in this world, and just pull back on the things that aren't working. I think we did some great work in those areas. There are some amazing stories that we have of, businesses raising their first funding, businesses that nearly collapsed, who managed to get a new lease of life through us and go on to do unbelievable things. But for us, the reliability, the consistency, and the clarity of the impact we're having on the parts of the business which we're now leaning into with this rebrand made it a no-brainer.